Howdy, howdy, howdy. Good Monday evening to all of y'all. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Let me start the show as I always do. SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love all my fellow reality TV fans and everyone that comes out here on Monday evenings to sit here and chat away with me. Thank y'all so much. I love doing this. I absolutely do. So I hope y'all enjoyed as well. But welcome, a fantastic Monday to all of y'all. Man, this is like the last Monday in March. This year's going pretty fast, isn't it? I am blown away that we're coming up on April here in just a few days. It's quick. It seems like 2020 lasted forever. Now it's a whole different ball game this year for 2021. So I hope y'all are all doing fantastic. I'm looking at names out here: Angie, Don, Ma, David, Brian, Crosstrack. Oh, Joshy. If I missed anyone, Chickadee, Anthony, I thank y'all all. I got to say, when I come out here and I see the same names over and over again, it just gives me kind of a warm spot in my heart. Y'all are my friends, and I love being able to sit out here and talking to y'all, enjoying everything. What is that? Today's cat's birthday, according to Ma, 12 years old today. Well, it's pretty old for a cat, so congratulations to the cat. I hope the cat does a lot of dancing and a whole lot of celebrating, right? Yeah, you gotta celebrate your special days. Give a little catnip for the cat, perhaps. How about something like that? I hope y'all are doing fantastic. I got all kinds of little things I wanted to talk about today. Dawn, I love your background. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Easter's coming up. We'll talk about Easter in a little bit. Some things, traditions we always do in our family with regards to Easter. So yeah, I have a blast on Easter. Easter eggs are certainly a part of it, but we'll talk more about it later. But Easter is the one time of the year, even more so than Christmas, when my extended family gets to get together, and so that's always fantastic. I love doing that. So Easter, one of my absolute favorite holidays. So again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we do, while we're waiting for a few people to come in, I got all kinds of trivia stuff for y'all today. Man, I guess no one wants to have a national day in February, January. Who wants to have something then when it's cold? You can't go out and celebrate. But once springtime comes along, everyone wants their national day. So I had to trim it down a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit about those. All right, Parker, real quick though. French Survivor is going on now. I've been following that a little. Well, Parker, the fact that I don't speak any French, mademoiselle, that's about it for me. That would make it tough to follow Survivor. I kind of like the English language broadcast reality shows more so than anything else. But hey, it's kind of cool. It is cool that shows like Survivor and Big Brother aren't just United States or Canada or the UK. They're all over the world. How cool would it be? I would love someday if they had a Big Brother convention. I don't care where they have it in Fiji or somewhere really cool, but just bring all the Big Brother contestants from all over the world and all the fans from all over the world, and just all of us get together and compare notes with all the Big Brother. How cool would that be? That'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Comparing who did well, who we think has the best shows and the worst shows, and all of that. Now, Ma saying next week is when I get to watch Big Brother Canada 9, because you can finally relax with no schoolwork. Enjoy that little break if that's the case, and enjoy the show. I'm trying to get caught up on Big Brother Canada, but I'm still behind. I watched a couple episodes today. I'm going to get caught back up because it's hard. I kind of know what's going on because you can't miss it if you stay on Twitter and Instagram and all that. But I'm trying to get caught back up. So far, it seems like it's been a really fun season. Canada does it right when it comes to Big Brother. All right, but we'll come back to some of that reality TV because I got a good show recommendation for y'all coming up as well. But first of all, let's talk about this day in history, national days, and everything else. First of all, on a bit of a somber note, and then we're going to move on. But today is National Vietnam Veterans Day. It's remembering everyone who fought in the Vietnam War. On this day in 1973 is when the U.S. pulled the last of our troops out of South Vietnam at the time, and basically walked away from the war itself. Yeah, figure that was 1973. Guys who fought in the Vietnam War, they're all in their late 60s, early 70s now, and they didn't get as good a reception when they came back home as the vets from Iraq and Afghanistan and everything. So if you know a veteran, thank them for doing sometimes a thankless job, but they're back. Now, my exposure when Vietnam War was over, there were a lot of pilots during the Vietnam War, helicopter pilots, things like that. When I worked in the oil field, I had to make a couple of trips offshore. And sometimes we take a boat out there, but sometimes we would take helicopters. And I flew on some helicopters with some Vietnam War era pilots who had then, after the war, become helicopter pilots for the oil rigs. Those guys have no fear whatsoever. It was so scary riding with those guys because they would fly these choppers. They would dive them down towards the water. They would just make these sharp banks all the time. And I tell you, the first time I ever rode in one of those, it was a mistake when they found out, when I let them know it was the first time I'd ever been in a helicopter offshore. Because as soon as that happened, this pilot just had fun with me. He would do a lot of things, like he'd say, "Hey, how well do you know how to swim? We're having a little issue. You're going to be okay if we have to land a little short of the land, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess so, but I don't want to do that. Let's see if we can make it to land if at all possible." They used to have fun playing pranks and everything else on us, but those guys, they were some badass pilots. We'll just leave it at that. So remembrance of the Vietnam veterans today. If you know any, thank them for their service. Something else going on. And this is tomorrow. There's so much going on tomorrow. It's hard for me to trim it down hey, it's National Bunsen Burner Day. For those of you who are taking chemistry, and I remember one or two of y'all were taking chemistry and all of that, but more than the Bunsen Burner Day, tomorrow, for all of you who are not aware, and how could you not be aware of this? Tomorrow is National Pencil Day. Yes, pencil. Who hadn't used a pencil? First thing you grow, I guess crayons maybe is first thing you grew up writing with, and then you move on to the crayons as well. And so tomorrow's National Pencil Day. And in honor of the pencil celebration, I found a few trivia facts that I wanted to throw at y'all. First of all, I'm not sure what it's like in Canada, but here in the United States, almost all pencils are that golden yellow kind of, y'all all know what I'm talking about, that goldish yellow color. Do y'all know why they're all yellow? I'll give you just a second while I very quickly look through these comments as to why all the pencils we have down here pretty much are yellow. Fruit-flavored Pop-Tarts. So that sounds pretty good. All right, so yellow pencils. They were created by a company back in, when was it? 1890. And they wanted to create pencils, and they wanted them to be considered the best in the world. So they made their pencils to look yellowish gold. They wanted them to look like a gold instrument when you're using them. So they were the ones that came up with the yellow pencil, and they were a huge success. Everyone thought these pencils were better than anyone else's. So all the other pencil companies, I don't know how many pencil companies were there back then. I guess there are a few. They all decided to copy this one company that said, well, let's make ours yellow as well, because when you're buying a pencil, are you really looking at the brand, or are you just saying, hey, give me that yellow pencil because I know it works well? So they all changed their colors to yellow also, so they could just copy and make people think they were part of the same pencil company. And the rest is history. So what was that, 1890? So 131 years later, and we're still using all those yellow pencils. It's amazing. One little decision way back when, and it has repercussions all the way going forward. So National Pencil Day, and that's why we all have the yellow ones. Now, another thing that was interesting about pencils, did y'all know that during World War II, there was actually a pencil company in Great Britain, in England, and they would make pencils, and on both ends, there was graphite, the lead of the pencil, but in between, there wasn't any lead. Instead, there was the little hollow where pencil leads normally went. They put little tiny hidden maps inside those pencils, and they were maps of Germany. They were maps of prisoner of war camps and escape routes to get out of those prisoner of war camps. And all the pilots that would fly bombing missions over Germany would have these pencils stuck in their uniforms, their flight suits. And that way, if they were shot down and needed to, they had this pencil they could break into, take the maps, and try to help them escape. And apparently Britain would also send these pencils along with pieces of paper to prisoners of war in the camp so they could write letters and everything. And the Germans would let it through because they thought they were just pencils. Well, what they didn't realize were these little tiny maps were hidden inside the pencils. You could snap them open and have little maps to try to help you escape. Is that not a cool idea? I'd love to have some of those pencils with the secret maps hidden inside. That's just amazing, the things that people would do, the things that people thought of back then. Makes me think, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Great Escape. I think it's like 1968 or so, with Steve McQueen and James Garner. If y'all get a chance, go find The Great Escape. It is amazing, amazing movie. So, all right, Let me look through the comments a little bit. Amma saying my friend's grandpa's a Vietnam vet. Yeah, absolutely. Thank him. That's fantastic. Amanda, you should watch the Wild Wild Country documentary on Netflix. Oh, and your dad's a Vietnam vet. Well, that's congrats. Thank you. I thank him on my behalf and everyone else's behalf. That's so important. Now, as far as that documentary, I haven't heard of that. Man, I can't keep up with these things. That Wild Wild Country. I'll check on it, Amanda, because I've been looking through Netflix. I didn't even see that one. That's the beauty about these things. I'm one of these people. I don't necessarily go out to Netflix or any of these other streaming services with some movie picked out that I want to watch. I'm more the one that just goes out there and just randomly finds some movie and watch it. If it's horrible, I'll skip it through the last half of it. But most of the time, I find the oddball stuff. Sharon gives me a hard time. She says, you can find the strangest, weirdest movies anywhere, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, Netflix, wherever. If there's a weird movie out there, I'm the one that's going to find it. And that's probably true. I kind of like those eclectic, weird, strange type movies. Amanda say, yeah, we talk, your dad's Vietnam, but again, thank you. That's I kind of a little bit remember Vietnam. I was a little young for that. I was 8 years old when we moved out of Vietnam and everything. So a little bit before my time, but yeah, it was a different time back then. All right, it's really good about a man from Texas. Well, there you go, man. If it's about a man from Texas, it's got to be a great documentary, right? Unless you're talking Tiger King or something, and then maybe we'll talk again. But yeah, okay. All right, I'm gonna have to find it, and I will check it out. Don say, how long do you think Big Brother will stay on the air? I don't know. I could see it. Reality TV, I think, is still here for a while to stay because it's cheaper to produce than the scripted dramas and comedies. I mean, look at something like Big Bang Theory. How much were they paying each of those actors at the end? Or Friends, how much they were paying each of them $1 million an episode to be in that show, right? Us people on reality TV, trust me, we aren't getting $1 million per episode. So it's a whole lot cheaper for us, even with cameras 24 hours a day and all that. It's a lot cheaper to do a reality show. So I think Big Brother will stick around for a lot longer, unless it gets to the point that people get so frustrated with some of the stuff that happens after being on the show with social media and all of that. But there'll always be people who are willing to go in and take their chances of the game and all that. I think there'll be a lot of changes. It won't be the same show 20 years from now that it is now. But I think it's always going to be a case. And now, as we start getting more and more internet and everything else, pretty soon you're going to have Big Brother, and every person in there is just going to have a permanent camera attached to their head. Heck, it'll probably be stapled or right across their chin or something. And you'll be able to pick which camera you want to follow. You may follow your favorite person 24 hours a day. And so you'll get full control over who you're watching, when you're watching it, everything. It'd be pretty cool, right? Now, for someone in the house, that'd be strange. If I knew that someone was selectively watching me, other than my wife and kids, which I would expect, anyone else, it'd be a little strange if I thought they were watching me 24 hours a day and just had the camera on my forehead or whatever is the one they're watching. That'd be a little interesting. But yeah, I think it'll change, but I think they'll still be around. Cindy, we should compare weird movie notes. All right, we'll do that some other show. Maybe I'll just do a show about nothing but the strangest movies I've ever seen. Josh is saying, Cliff, when do you think they'll announce Big Brother 23? It's pretty early in the process. And with that being said, if you're old enough and if you want to be on Big Brother, get those videotapes in. I guess they aren't videotapes anymore. Get your videos in, upload them and send them in, because I think it's still going on. All right, so before I do that, Parker's saying Friday is Autism Awareness. And as a person on the spectrum, it's a great holiday. It's a great holiday for everyone. Yeah, thank you for that. And I know autism awareness, lots of people have blue lights on their porch patios, things like that, as extra awareness. I think it's a blue ribbon, isn't it? If not, correct me, but I think it is. Yeah, it's cool that we recognize, there's all different people. And we saw on Big Brother last year, Ian talked a little bit about, that he was on the spectrum, and you have that spectrum's a big old wide spectrum. There's all different people that have different strengths and different skills and everything else. And so, yeah, thank you. I didn't realize that was a holiday on Friday, but I appreciate you pointing it out to me. All right, so Big Brother 23, let's get back to that. If you haven't sent in your videotape, do it. As far as when they're going to announce it, If I recall, we started June 13th, something like that. Just for my own background, I tried out in late February. And by this time, 2 years ago, I'd already had some follow-up contacts, was preparing for some more interviews. And I can't go into all the details, but I was one of the earlier people from the tryout standpoint. I know there were people who got picked for the show just a few weeks before the show started. So the process is by no means complete. I'm sure they just have gotten started. They may have talked to a few people, but there's probably a lot of people they haven't even discovered yet. They probably haven't even seen the videotapes yet. So you got time. But yeah, I don't know. I expect the first part of June they'll announce a premiere date, things like that. I know it's good. They're going to have it this summer, right? They've got to have it. I absolutely hope so. Amanda, I hope they ask you to host a competition this season. Me too. That'd be fun. I would have a blast going back into that house just for a split second and getting to say hello to all the people and just smiling. I don't know. I would have the biggest smile on my face the entire time I was inside that house. It would you would see on the show, you would just see me just happy. I'd just be bouncing around that house like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. I'd be so happy to be back in there for a little while. So yeah, that would be a lot of fun if I could get in. And Ma saying it is a blue ribbon. Good. Okay. I thought so, but it's nice to get confirmation of that. And Ma saying, will you root for Dawn and I on Big Brother 29? Absolutely. Anyone out here on this show that gets on the Big Brother, man, y'all are going to have the biggest cheerleader. I'm going to be sitting on the couch every night watching y'all. I'll be doing recaps and I will give y'all special shout outs as long as you give me some shout outs as well. But yeah, of course I'd be cheering for you, right? All right, let's talk about some other things real quick. I talked about National Pencil Day and how cool it was. All right, before we move on to the really important stuff, there's really important stuff. But in addition to tomorrow being National Pencil Day, for those of you who don't know, and why wouldn't you know, tomorrow's also National Pooper Scooper Day. Yeah, there's a holiday for everything, right? And I'm not lying. National Pooper Scooper Day, it was actually created by professional pooper scoopers. You didn't know there was such a thing as that either, did you? They actually have an organization called the Association of Professional Animal Waste Specialists, which shortened is APAWS, APAWS. And there's a website, apaws.com. If you go out there, it's a Professional Pooper Scoopers Association. And I did not research on how to celebrate National Pooper Scooper Day. I feel like I may have some general ideas, suggestions that they may have, but I figure I'd get it as well. But for those of you with pets, I don't know. If you don't have a pet, I guess you could go down to the park and clean up after your neighbor's pets or something, just to be a good citizen and to really celebrate National Pooper Scooper Day. But I'll leave it up to y'all to decide exactly how you want to celebrate that particular holiday. All right, Josh, he's saying, what was it like when you walked into the stage on premiere night? Did they blindfold you, or did you just walk? Did you just walk next to the house guest? Well, Joshy, we were all kept separated from each other. It's not like we had run into each other ahead of time. We were led into the building, and right before we walked onto the stage, we basically were revealed to one another. We were all lined up at the stage door right outside the door. And after just a few minutes, no one was allowed to talk to each other. We finally, right before you go in, you get to look back and forth, say, okay, that's interesting. This person, they, trying to evaluate everyone just based on the clothes they're wearing and their ages. It was cool that you're playing the game before you even say a word. But we did that for just a few minutes, and they were saying, no talking, nothing, none whatsoever. Because they didn't want anyone to know, maybe this person has a New York accent or anything about anyone. Of course, they saw my hat. I think everyone pretty much didn't figure I was a guy from Boston or anything like that, right? But yeah, we sat there for just a few minutes until it was our turn to go up on the stage. We walked up on the stage. We all stood there, and y'all don't see it all on TV, but really, there's not much that isn't shown on TV. We walked up on stage. I made sure we were standing in the right position. And then Julie started talking, and that was it. And that's the part that's recorded for TV. And she said, welcome, here's your adventure, get inside. And so we all went inside, and that's when we could talk to each other. But no, we didn't talk to anyone before that. We didn't see each other until just a few minutes before we went into the house. So that was all as authentic as they make it look like on TV. It truly was. All right. A friend has a cat that uses a toilet. Well, that's good training. Cats are tough to train. So congratulations to your friend for doing that. All right, let's see what else is going on. All right. I feel like I kind of front loaded this whole evening tonight with my days in histories and national days and all of that, but there's actually purposes to all of it. Before we start talking about Easter and other holidays and all that, I wanted to throw in one final this day in history, and this occurred in 1973, and it's not going to mean much to any of y'all. Trust me, I know it won't, but I'll explain it. But on this day in 1973, the rock band, who has the name Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, that band appeared on the cover of the Rolling Stone on this day in 1973. Why does anyone care about that? Why do y'all care about that? Well, for two reasons. One of their biggest songs, one of their most famous songs, is called On the Cover of the Rolling Stone. And it's all singing about how happy they're going to be when they finally make it to the cover. They're going to know that they're big rock singers, they're superstars and all of that. And so this song was all about getting on the cover. So when they finally made it on the cover, it was a huge celebration for this band. They were all excited and everything. Now, why do I care about it? It's because Dr. Hook and the Indian Medicine Show was the... yeah, and for those of y'all who don't know, I'm sorry, if I just kind of glossed over this. The cover of the Rolling Stone's a magazine that's been around forever. I think it's still around, but people don't read it the way they used to. And it's all about rock and roll music. It lists the top 100 bands, and it has all these articles on the bands and performances and concerts and everything. So, and back in the day, everyone read Rolling Stone. It was a big deal because, you know, we high school kids, we would read it all the time just to know that we, to keep up with everything that was going on so we could talk to our friends about it and all of that. So the Rolling Stone magazine, Dr. Hook was on the cover, which was like their song. The reason I care about it is because Dr. Hook was the very first band that I ever saw in concert all by myself. My very first concert ever, I went with my parents, and I went to see Ozzy Osbourne. Now, early April Fool's joke for y'all. My parents did not take me to see Ozzy Osbourne. My parents did take me to see Willie Nelson in concert. And so we watched Willie Nelson. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was with my parents. The first concert that I went to where I was completely by myself, well, my brother was with me, but he didn't count. Yeah, the first one I went without parental supervision was a concert in Six Flags over Texas there in Arlington where I grew up. And it was Dr. Hook. And I didn't know anything about this band when I saw them. They just were in concert, and we thought it was cool that we were going to see a concert on our own. Loved it. I loved their music. I went and bought the album itself. And the album it's a little risque. They've got some songs that are a little mature. I'm not sure my mom really knew what to expect when I started playing the music. And that was back in the day before headphones and, you know, having it all MP3s on your phone and all of that. This was just on the record player. So my mom came and said, "What in the world are you listening to?" "Oh, that's Dr. Hook. They're my new favorite band." So she was a little taken back. But now I love Dr. Hook. So if you've never listened to Dr. Hook, go out there and find they've got a lot of songs. They're fun. So we do that. Parker saying Dr. Hook is from your hometown, a local legend. Oh, and your stepfather is friends with his daughter. That's pretty cool. He looked like a very interesting character. A lot of those band members looked like interesting characters. They were very much a product of the age. You know, that was in the 70s. You had hippies and long hair and all of that. And of course, again, a little before my time, but I love their music. I still sing their songs, and Sharon hates when I sing their music because it's very old school kind of stuff. But so if you haven't listened to Dr. Hook, go out there and listen to it. Moss and Cliff, did you ever try any instruments? I didn't get much farther than the kazoo, I think. I took piano lessons as a kid. I don't know. It didn't really stick. I can still play the entertainer a little bit, the first few notes, and then one or two, but I can't really play anything. I told y'all once before when I was back on the TV Co network that I was going to try to learn to play the banjo, and I'd still like to do that. Heck, I don't know. I had a whole year sitting at home in quarantine. You'd think if I was ever going to learn it, I would have learned by now, but and I haven't quite caught the hang of that. So no, not yet. Haven't played it. But yeah, I'd love to play the guitar. That'd be so neat, but I don't think I've got the skills to do it. Chicky D says that she saw Dr. Hook in concert 10 years ago. A geriatric concert. Yeah. I thought I was old when I went into the Big Brother house. I have a feeling if I go to a Dr. Hook concert nowadays, I'll probably be the youngest person in there. Maybe I need to do that. That made me really feel like a youngster if I went and saw one of their shows. But yeah, pretty good. And Chickadee's first concert was U2 in Madison Square Garden. All right, now that's a great place to see a first concert. That's certainly a great band to see a first concert. And Dawn saying she was surprised when she found out she was listening to the Monkees. I like the Monkees. I like a lot of their music. I think we've talked about them before. The Monkees, Partridge Family, Brady Bunch. You know, some of those people played music on TV, but it's still pretty good. I loved every bit of it. And Angie saying her first concert was New Kids on the Block. All right, Angie, that does not surprise me in the least. It just that seems pretty natural. If it wasn't going to be Spice Girls and it wasn't going to be ABBA, then New Kids on the Block. It seems pretty appropriate. So I like New Kids on. They were a little after my time. My big band when I was in high school was Van Halen. They were hot right at the time I was in high school. I saw them in concert multiple times. Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, Styx, Kansas, Journey, a bunch of they're considered old school now. Back then they were just bands. But yeah, I love that. Chickadee. It's cool. A lot of wheelchairs and walkers. And yeah, I could see that, Chickadee. All right, what are the bands that I don't know, are they a band? They're a group, the Kingston Trio, which is old school. They were big in the early 60s, before I was even born. But my parents liked them, and so they always played them on the 8-track tape that we had in our car. That says how old they are. But I learned to like all their songs because of it, and I learned them by heart. So I still sing a lot of Kingston Trio songs, and I know I've never seen them in concert, but my brothers took my mom and went and saw them in concert. Little geriatric at that concert as well. Not just the people in the audience, but the guys up on stage singing as well were yeah, a little aged. And Don saying album, good job, you pronounced it correctly. Is there a different way to pronounce it? I never thought of it. It's the only way I've ever thought of pronouncing it. All right, let's see. My last concert was Spice Girls in London. That's pretty cool too, Angie. I never saw the Spice Girls, but I would have seen them. I was doing an oil rig test in Shreveport, Louisiana. And we had all these old oil field guys all standing around the rig. And I was responsible. I had a video camera hooked up and I was trying to record everything that was going on. And I actually played background music and I played the Spice Girls, which, you know, you wouldn't think being old oil field guys and all that. But I played Spice Girls and I guess everyone enjoyed it. No one complained about it. And Andy saying I met David or Cindy saying she met David Cassidy once. All right. That's pretty cool. I never met David Cassidy. I think he passed away not too long ago. He had some issues, brain issues, something, some stuff going on. But yeah, I watched a lot of him on TV. I'll put it that much. I heard some people pronounce it Al Blum. All right. Never heard it that way, Don. I'll stick with my album name. Owen Norman, how'd you feel when Camp Comeback Sound came on at the live show when Ovi got evicted? Oh, that was, you're talking about strange, because I felt so bad. Ovi was my guy. I really wanted to work with Ovi. We had said we were going to stay really tight with each other. At the very first, I thought Ovi, and then I thought Nick were the two people that I'd kind of picked out that maybe I could do something with. And then Nick got a little tighter with Sam than he was with me, it seems like. And so I didn't think that was going to work. But Ovi was my guy. And I felt so bad when he was going home. And we just kept thinking maybe there's got to be some kind of twist, right? We thought that David going home so early on day one just wasn't fair. And we were kind of hoping he would get another chance. And if he was going to get another chance, then we figured surely Ovi would get a chance as well. So we evicted Ovi. He gets up and... Yeah, you're saying your goodbyes because you don't know what's going to happen. I figured he'd be gone and then we wouldn't know for a couple of weeks. And then the sound goes off and we had no clue what it was, but it had to be something good, right? So it was, yeah, that was exciting because I didn't want Ovi to go. One, because he was a number supporting me and we needed, I already knew that Alliance was out there. So we needed as many people outside the Alliance still in the house doing what they could. Now, it was unfortunate when he came back in or got to stay in the house that he and David didn't have any voting power. They couldn't compete, anything else. It really made it tough. You know, I wanted to have an alliance of people against the big majority, but there just weren't enough of us who had voting powers to be able to do much. But yeah, I know I just smiled from ear to ear when Ovi stayed in, because if for no other reason, Ovi stayed in, and then David came in, and he was so excited. And I was just happy for both of them, because I could have easily gone home on day one, right? I was banished, and it could have been me instead of David. So I had a lot of sympathy for what he had to go through, and I felt so bad that he had such a short time period in that house. So when they got to come back in outside the game, just getting to come in, I was happy that they got to experience it for a little bit longer. Now, from inside the game, it worried me a little bit, because you want to see more and more people going home, because it helps your chances more and more. But I was very happy to see both of them back in. The Fellowship of the Zing would have been an awesome alliance. Yeah, Jake, I thought so. I thought it was fantastic. Ovi, I think, is the one who came up with the Fellowship. That was the name of the alliance originally when he and Nicole and I talked. I didn't want to name the alliance. I've always thought, why would you possibly name an alliance? Because all that means is someone's going to overhear, or it just makes it seem like more official when you do that. And I wanted just to say it's just an alliance, but let's not give it a name. But Ovi wanted to name it and wanted to have a proper title to it. So he kept saying, let's do the Fellowship. Okay, Ovi, let's do it. Well, that's fine. And then I thought a little bit about that. The Fellowship of the Zing. This seems perfect. And I think, is it Ovi? I can't remember if it's Ovi or Nicole. I need to ask one of them. One of them did not realize, was not a big J.R. or Tolkien fan, and didn't realize the Fellowship of the Ring, Fellowship of the Zing. Didn't realize the comparison. Just it didn't dawn on him that that's what I was getting at when I added that onto it. Though I explained it to him later. Can't remember which one of them it was. I need to check on that. See, Chickadee saying she saw Hall & Oates a few years ago. You got to be careful going to see some of these people after they've been gone for a good long while, and then they come back in concert, and sometimes the old pipes aren't quite what they used to be, and so you have to temper those what your expectations are quite a bit. I've seen a few concerts, return concerts, that they really couldn't hit the high notes and the tones and everything. The Who was one of them. I saw they kept talking about retiring for the last 40 years. And I saw them a while back, and they're a little past their prime, and so, but that's all right. Hey, they're making a lot of money, right? Noah's saying, what's your favorite challenge you did in Big Brother? Man, Noah, you know what? It's tough not to say some of the iconic competitions like the OTEV or the Hang On Tight, the wall competition, because those were, to get to compete in those is really cool. But the two that I've always talked about that I've always enjoyed, just because they seem like the perfect Big Brother kind of competitions. One was the one that the veto competition while I was HOH, where we sat on the jet skis and took off all our clothes while trying to keep 3 buttons pushed. I'd seen that in a season 19, season 20. I can't remember. I think 19, they did something similar. But that was cool. And I did pretty well, even though big old guy like me, you don't expect me to get my clothes off as quick as some of those other people. But I did pretty well. I think I came in 3rd place and beat Jack and Sis and Sam, and I think Kat and Mickey were the two that beat me. So yeah, I enjoyed that one, because theoretically anyone had a chance to win it, even though I think it was a little tougher for me, but anyone theoretically had a chance. The other competition that I really enjoyed, and this was another veto competition, and it was called Coral Grief, maybe. I think Coral Grief. It's amazing I still remember all the names of those competitions. But that was one where we all were having to wear flippers, run back and forth, and grab a whole lot of stuffed animals off a rack. And then we had a bunch of sticks hanging down, and you had to balance all your stuffed animals without. And so once you got all your animals hung from all the different poles, and you could step back and they stayed balanced and didn't fall off, then that was it, and you could hit the button and win. I love that competition, but it was the most frustrating. It drove me crazy. Before we ever even started, I knew how I was going to handle it. I knew the heavy animals, which stick I was going to put them on, and how I was going to keep them balanced. I had the whole strategy figured out, and I really thought I had it in. I really thought I was going to win it. And just when I would get close, one little animal would slip off, and as soon as it did, then all the sticks would be off balance and they'd all fall off. I'm not a guy that curses, because I'm a family man and all that. I just don't curse. I did on that day. There was probably a lot of bleeping going on, because Christy laughed about it, because she said, I've never seen you curse like that, Cliff. And I said, yeah, you probably never will again either. It was frustrating. It was incredibly frustrating. Mickey ended up winning it, but I came so close. I truly did. but I love the competition. It's just perfect. It's just a natural Big Brother competition. Anyone has a chance to win. I didn't win. I wanted to, but it worked out okay. All right, Joshy, do you remember do you rehearse the nomination ceremony? No, we don't. I had to think about that for just a second. Let me tell you what happens on the nomination ceremony for those of you who don't know. Because I was HOH, I actually can tell you what happens on it. The way it works out is everyone in the house is sent to one of the two bedrooms. In our case, it was the RV room or the archery room. And you're supposed to kind of split up. They don't care how you do it. Just let's have about equal numbers in both rooms. And so everyone's sitting there looking very concerned and serious because they don't know who's getting nominated and all of that. And they're all being filmed from the other side of the glass and all while they're there doing that. Well, meanwhile, the HOH person is sent into the diary room. And so I went into the diary room after everyone else went into their bedrooms. And inside's a suitcase or briefcase. You open it up, and there's keys for every house guest in there with their name on it. And I basically, the speaker, Big Brother, came over the speaker and said, "All right, Cliff, you pick two people. When you pick them, put them in the key slot. And once you put them in, then that's it. You can't back out. Once you set them in there and make your decisions, you can't change your mind. So make sure that you truly know what you're doing." So I looked at the keys for just a second, and then they had me go outside and actually look at the memory wall and really think about my choices before I made them. And I was thinking long and hard. If y'all remember, I put up Mickey and I put up Jack. I put up the two alpha males, which can be kind of dangerous. I mean, they've comp beasts. I figured they maybe would come back after me if I did it, but I had to take my shot. So I went out and I looked at the memory wall, looked at the pictures, and I remember thinking, is this something you really want to do? Or maybe you just go after someone that no one's going to be so upset about and don't create a target on yourself. But I walked back into the room, and I remember when I took those keys and I stuck them in there and turned them, I thought, oh man, I've done it now. I have done it now. I will sink or swim, and we're going to see what happens here. So I did that. And at that point, they basically said, okay, Cliff, go get them out of the bedrooms. Tell them the nominations ceremony is ready to go. I went to the bedroom, said, guys, it's time for the nomination ceremony. Would y'all come out to the kitchen? Just like they show in the film. And they all walked out, and there's no rehearsal. Now, everyone, they want to make sure we're all sitting where the cameras are shining, are on the right places so they can see everyone's faces. So before we actually started, you'd hear a little bit, can y'all shift around to the left, right? Things like that. Yeah, very minor stuff, though. And then at that point, the speaker said, all right, Cliff, go ahead and get the box and do the ceremony. So yeah, there's no rehearsal. There's none whatsoever. Now, if you screw up your words, then you repeat it and things like that. But yeah, it's exactly like y'all see, and there's no practicing or anything else. There truly isn't. All right, Tim Pipe. Tim, all right. Your first concert was George Strait. All right, that was fantastic. George Strait played at the Houston rodeo. In fact, I think he replaced someone that got sick, and so he was a last minute replacement and performed there. He performed at fairgrounds all around Texas as well. I've seen George Strait in several concerts. I saw his very last concert at the Astrodome in Houston, and not easy to get tickets. I sat there. I was one of those just dialing on the phone every few seconds trying to get through, and was able to get tickets for the family. George Bush Sr., the president, sat down in the very bottom, pretty close to the stage. We were way up top. But we were close enough. I could see George Bush sitting down there. And I remember, it's so funny, during the concert, he had a big old thing of popcorn. George Bush, not George Strait. George Bush had a big old thing of popcorn. He was eating it. And after a little while, he turned around, he just started handing it to people around him, just sharing his popcorn with random strangers, which I always thought was kind of cool. Now, George Strait, I've seen him in concert multiple times. I'd love to see him a few more times. That's a good first concert. A little better than Dr. Hook, but I like my memory, so I'll stick with it. All right, let's see. Angie, just realized Big Brother Canada doesn't have a memory wall. I never thought of that. That's interesting. All right, I'll tell you a little, I guess it's not really a secret, but something that we were all thinking about while we were in the Big Brother house. That first week, which y'all didn't see because they don't show until we've been in there a week. The memory wall was not lit up. It was blank. Our pictures weren't up there. And we were scared to death that meant something going on, that a lot of us or some of us were going to go home and there were going to be some vets that were going to come in to replace us. When they said 4 people are getting banished on day 1 to the camp director, I immediately thought 4 of us are going home and they're going to replace us with 4 vets or something like that. I mean, you always get paranoid about that. But yeah, our memory wall didn't have pictures on it until about a week into the, maybe it wasn't a week, maybe it's just a few days, but it seemed like a long time. And so we were just paranoid that with our pictures up, not up on the wall, that maybe that somehow meant that we didn't actually belong in the house just yet. But yeah, I didn't think about that. Big Brother Canada does not have the memory wall. I spent a lot of time in front of that memory wall studying, memorizing everyone's faces, their clothing, because I knew there was going to be some kind of challenge somewhere down the way. And as it turns out, it was the very last competition between Holly and Mickey, and I had already gotten booted, so it didn't help me. But you don't know how I knew. I could look just at the noses of the different people, and I knew the difference between Nicole's nose and the difference between Kat's nose. I knew the difference in eyebrows between Holly and Sis. I mean, I could tell just by looking at any little part of anyone's face whose face that belonged to, because I thought there was going to be a face swap type competition. So I had a little paper towel tube. The paper towels were gone, and I kept the tube, and I would hold that up to my eye so that I would only see one tiny part of their face, their nose, their mouth, their ear, etc. And I could just focus on that body part and try to memorize everything there was about it for every person on that wall. I spent so much time studying that stuff. I would have done well if I got to that competition, but I didn't. That's all right. Chicky D saying, I want to see Barry Manilow and Tom Jones so bad. I've never seen Tom Jones, but I saw Barry Manilow at the Houston Rodeo. We were down low. We were like the first deck or so, and he was in the middle of the stage, all the cowboys, horses and everything else. But he was in the middle with his piano and playing, and amazing concert. I love it. Some of the better concerts. George Strait was obviously a fantastic performance at the rodeo. Taylor Swift was an amazing performance at the Houston Rodeo. Black Eyed Peas were a whole lot of fun at the Houston Rodeo. They were great. And Barry Manilow was another one that was just, you don't expect a different kind of music, but a lot of fun there also. All right, let's see. Let me get through these comments real quick if I could. Brian saying, why do they come from the bathroom hallway with the nomination? I don't even remember, Brian. I think it's because we hold the box over there and we get out of the way so that after we tell everyone to come in from the bedrooms to sit down, we're supposed to be away from them so that no one can. Maybe it's because they don't want anyone looking at the HOH and saying, am I up? Or, trying to get a wink or figure out some kind of expression or something. So if I recall, we were kind of kept away from everyone else in the house until they were all seated and they started filming. And then you would walk in with your box and go through the process. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that you don't wink at someone if they're safe and things like that. I think. I don't know. They didn't tell us that. It's just the way they had us come in. And then after the nomination ceremony, you would take the keys and you go put them in the storage room. And then I guess they came in later and grabbed them or something. All right, another great concert was Meatloaf. Dolores is saying, I remember going to see him back in the day. I never saw him in concert, but I love a lot of his music. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. He's a lot of. Of course, I watched Rocky Horror Picture Show a lot of times when I was a teenager before I could go to clubs and stuff. So I watched him in Rocky Horror a lot too, and then listen to all his other music. So yeah, I like Meatloaf. He's a lot of fun. All right. Talking on it. See, I didn't plan to talk that much about all the concerts tonight, but it's fun. Concerts are so much. I miss not being able to go to concerts and everything. I need to go up to Billy Bob's of Texas. That big old honky tonk there in Fort Worth. James Hewling, I think, works there, or at least he used to. So, and James was on Big Brother, a few seasons back before I was. I'm gonna try to reach out to him and say, hey, you got connections, get me in. Let me get in there and watch some concerts. I'd love to see some of the performers there as well. Dolores is saying Big Brother Canada has an invisible HOH. What do you think about that for the US Big Brother? All right, well, here's the thing, Dolores. I kind of heard the whispers about it because, again, nothing can stay too secret if you stay on social media, but I haven't caught up to actually hear about it. I'm guessing I understand probably what the invisible HOH is. So no one knows who it is, and therefore nominations, I assume, aren't they can't be pegged on you and everything. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I wouldn't want it every week, but a one-time twist like that. It's a little bit like when in our season we had the America's Prankster, and Nick won it. I don't know why he told everyone that he won it. I would have, if I'd won it, I wouldn't have said a word. In fact, I don't know. I kind of was hoping and thinking that maybe I would get picked for it. And I was already trying to decide, do I just put up two straight up people that I want, or one person that I straight up want gone, or do I try to gum things up by putting someone up that, I don't think's going to get sent home, that no one would suspect me of making that choice, and I can blame it on someone else to screw up their game. There's a lot of strategic thinking going on with that America's Prankster in case I got it, but it didn't matter because it wasn't me. It was Nick instead, and he put up Christy, which I don't understand, and then he told everyone that it was him, which I don't understand as well. But we all, no one plays a perfect game in there, and such. Cindy saying that she met Meatloaf, Barry Bostwick, Patricia Quinn, and Little Nell from Rocky Horror. Well, that's pretty cool. I throw Tim Curry in there as well. You got the trifecta, Susan Sarandon. You got the trifecta, right? That's pretty cool. I spent way too many nights watching Rocky Horror because there wasn't much. When I worked at Six Flags during the summers, we got out at 11 o'clock midnight. On the weekends, there wasn't anything to do if you were under the age of 19, which is drinking age back then. So we'd hit Rocky Horror all the time. That's pretty cool. I've never met any of them, but that would be pretty neat. I dressed up as Rocky Horror at Six Flags once, so I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. David Buchanan, highly doubt I saw Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy was in concert. No, I didn't April Fool y'all. Although I have not seen Ozzy Osbourne, but I would have gone to see him. Not necessarily the top type of music I listen to, but I once upon a time had an Ozzy Osbourne album, if I recall, and Metallica and some of the bands back then, a little more heavy metal, and Iron Maiden. I said Metallica. I was thinking Iron Maiden at the time. Yeah, they had bands. Ozzy played in Dallas once, and there are a lot of people that went out and saw him perform. All right, I'll tell you a quick story. Because I worked at Six Flags, there are a lot of concerts out there that were held, and it was a lot of fun. The one performer I did meet that was kind of cool, Joan Jett and Blackheart. She was there to perform, and she came into our shop where I was working one time and talked to us all and everything. Very nice, very friendly, and one of the friendliest people I'd met ever, and so that was pretty cool. I met Mick Jones, who was one of the band members for Foreigner, which is pretty neat. They were playing in Dallas the next day as a part of a big concert festival. And he asked one of the coworkers in my store, said, are y'all going to go see the concert? And she said, oh, we all want to go, but we don't have tickets. We can't go. And he said, oh, well, I can give y'all all tickets if y'all want to go. And she said, thanks, but we have to work, so we can't go tomorrow. And she didn't tell us that until after he had left the store. And she said, yeah, he offered us tickets, but I said we had to work. And we about killed her. He said, what are you talking about? We would have got replacements. We would have figured out something. We could have all gone out and had these up close tickets to watch Foreigner perform and Styx. I don't remember who else was out there, but it didn't work out. But I do remember after doing that, we did follow him to the front. He let us look inside his limousine and everything else. So he's a cool guy as well. So that's closest exposure I guess I've had to a few concerts. All right, Beach Boys. And I'll throw this in, then we'll move on to something else. The Beach Boys played at Six Flags Over Texas 3 or 4 years in a row, I think. And they didn't have any seating. It was just out in the parking lot. And when they opened the gates, people would just sit wherever, general admission. Well, because I was an employee at Six Flags Over Texas, we were able to get a little closer to the entrance gate than anyone else was. So when they'd open the gates, we got to go down. And so we were on the very front row. And so for 3 or 4 years, we got to sit on the front row and listen to the Beach Boys singing all their music. And it was fantastic. Summer nights, it's nice and breezy and a little cool outside and everything. Listening to them play their music, perfect. I remember those nights very well. So had fun with the Beach Boy concerts. All right, let's see what. Cindy met me. Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, man, there's so much else I was going to talk about, and then we're starting to run out of time. But I want to talk about Easter so let me move on if I could. And we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but we got April Fools coming up, and someone mentioned April Fools. You know what? I don't do a lot of April Fools tricks because people expect them from me. I could never get away with April Fools jokes because from the second Sharon wakes up first thing in the morning, she's waiting for me to pull some kind of prank on her. It's almost more fun for me just to not do anything and have her on needles waiting for it all day long. So yeah, I'm not as big into April Fools jokes, but I do like to play a few pranks on Easter itself. Again, as I mentioned, big family, extended family all gets together on Easter Day. So I always have fun doing different Easter egg pranks. And so for those of you who have families who will appreciate the humor and not get too upset at you, I'll give y'all some of my all-star greatest Easter pranks. How about that? And maybe we'll call it a night after that. So we always have the extended family to get together. My kids, you know, they're past college and all that. So, but we still have younger kids in the family who do the Easter eggs, the Easter egg hunts, and everything else. And everyone gets together. Old kids, younger kids. Everyone does a lot of dyeing of Easter eggs, like the night before Easter. You know, the dye that you dip the hard-boiled egg into the cup and you let it dye different colors and everything else. Well, one of the pranks I've done for several years, I always have fun with. If you take a white crayon, and while the eggs are hard boiled before anyone dyes them, if you take a white crayon and you can write on the egg, and you can't see it because it's white on white, but then when you dip that egg into the dye, it won't dye where that white crayon is. So I always have fun grabbing some of those eggs and writing my name on the eggs, or putting a smiley face or some goofy face on the egg. So one of the kids will grab an egg, they'll dip it in there, they'll say, oh, it's going to be a purple egg. This is going to be so cool. And then they pull the egg out and it says Cliff on it. And I run over and say, oh, you did this egg just for me. Thank you so much. And oh, where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? And when the kids are really young, I'd say, oh, it's magic, or that's my egg. And I always had a lot of fun drawing things on the eggs before they actually got to dye them. So trick number one. What else did I do? One year, I took a lot of the Easter eggs that the kids were searching for, plastic eggs with candy in them and everything else. And before the kids had a chance to go out and actually explore and hunt for the eggs, I took a whole bunch of them, unscrewed the eggs or popped the eggs open, took out the little candies and everything else, and replaced them with little pieces of broccoli, pieces of carrots, what else? Grains of rice, just all kind of whatever I could find in our kitchen. Put just a little bit in all of these different eggs. So some of my nieces and nephews, they start finding their eggs. They get inside, they start opening them up, excited they're going to get some candy, and instead they get a little piece of broccoli come out. And that's nothing like watching a 3-year-old who's all excited about eating a piece of candy when they open up the egg and it's a piece of broccoli inside. You know, not quite what they were expecting. And so that was another prank that I did. What else? You take the plastic eggs, you super glue them together on the outside so they can't open them up. So they stay, whatever's inside stays locked inside. That's always a little fun, a little frustrating, but you know, I'm the prankster, so it's always fun watching that as well. So there's a few of your pranks. Now, one thing that I not just 3-year-olds. I mean, I do it to everyone. Whenever the family gets together, that's always my opportunity. And here's the thing: I've spent all year just saving up pranks. So maybe when I see my family and everything, we celebrate a little Easter, I may have a prank or two. We'll see what happens with that. But doing a few pranks here or there. Now, the other tradition that we used to do, I still do it sometimes, is, you know, the little kids have the Easter egg hunts, and they just run out and, you know, find eggs everywhere, and that's a lot of fun. The older kids, though, I do a special Easter egg hunt for them, where I typically will take eggs and I'll put like golden eggs or something, and I'll put like a $1 bill in one, a $5 bill in another, $10 bill in a third, and a $20 bill in the fourth. You know, it depends on how many of our kids are doing everything. But then I hide those eggs. That's not the Easter Bunny hiding those eggs. I hide those eggs, and that's for the older kids to find. And I do not make it easy. I hide those eggs so hard that it takes them forever to actually find them. Some of the things I've done, one year I took one of the eggs and I painted it white, and I put it in the outdoor lamp where normally a light bulb would go. So this white egg sitting on top, it looked like a light bulb. Took them forever to find that one. One time I tied a string or connected a string to the egg, threw the string up over a tree branch, and then pulled that egg up to the very top of the tree. It was a green egg, up to the very top of the tree, and it took them forever to find the egg. And it took them even longer to figure out the only way to get the egg down was to untie the string that was going off and tied off on another tree, and then let the thing drop. One time I I colored the egg brown and I attached it to our dog's collar underneath her neck. So she's running all around where everyone's searching and no one's thinking to look for this little egg that's underneath her throat, running around. And I just have fun trying to make it as hard as possible for them to do it. And and as my mom points out, I have been known to substitute a raw egg for a hard-boiled egg a few times. Nothing quite as fun as watching someone try to break open an egg and then it just runs all over their hands. Now, if they do it indoors and they're sitting on the carpet, your parents may not necessarily appreciate that. I know mine do not appreciate that. That's kind of an outdoor prank that you play, but we do that. And you also, I don't know if y'all are familiar, cascarones are eggs. It's a Mexican tradition where you take eggs and you take everything out, you fill them up with confetti, and then you can run over and smash them on people's heads. That's fun to replace a raw egg with one of those as well. You can tell the difference, but hey, if you're smashing on someone's head, you can pretend like you didn't know the difference. So I have fun. I have fun on Easter when the whole family gets together. It's a perfect time to play some pranks. So I don't know what I'll do this year. I'm just going to be so happy to see my family again. It's been so long because of COVID and all that. So I'll talk about it on Monday. We may do once or twice something with that. Ma saying, did you do this with Kelly and Daniel? Oh yeah, I did it with them when they were younger, and then when they got older, I did it to their cousins, my nieces and nephews instead. I've got some nieces and nephews that are 4 or 5 years old, so we still have some younger kids that I can. It doesn't matter. My pranks, I got some for the little kids. I've got some for the older kids as well. But yeah, I love doing the money eggs where they can look for where you don't necessarily care as much when you get older that you find a little bite-sized Hershey bar inside an egg or some jelly beans. But if there's a $20 bill in there, then that's a whole different story. So we've done that. And before they get to open the eggs, I always say, all right, here's your chance. If you want to switch eggs with someone else, you can. And if someone found an egg that they thought was maybe a little too easy to find, someone else had a hard egg to find, maybe they'll switch, and then they turn out they traded away their $20 egg for a $1 egg or something. It's I have a lot of fun playing around and enjoying the Easter experience, the Easter egg part of the Easter experience. So I've had a lot of fun doing that. All right. Sounds like a good April Fool's joke. They're saying to my mom. Yes. And my mom's been the victim of many a few Easter egg jokes or pranks all and on. All right, guys. I forgot one thing. I'm going to mention it because it's tonight. We didn't really talk that much about reality TV because we had so much other stuff going on, which I'm fine with. But tonight, for those of you who want to stay up, who are able to stay up, on the National Geographic channel, it's at 10 o'clock Central Time, so I assume it's 11 o'clock Eastern. It's pretty late, but I'm sure there'll be repeats for those of you who it's too late for and everything else. But look for it on the National Geographic channel. It's called Journey to the Center of the Earth, or Race to the, I think it's Race to the Center of the Earth. It's a show. It's a lot like Amazing Race in that these teams of two, that they know each other in their teammates. They're racing to, I think it's Central Point somewhere. Whoever gets there first wins $1 million. So it's a little bit like the Amazing Race, except they all start at different places. I think someone maybe starts North America, someone starts South America, and they don't necessarily have all these little challenges they have to do. Learn this choreographed dance before you can go to the next pit stop. I don't think it's like that. I think it's more that you just have to figure out how to get from where you are to your final point, and there may be clues along the way to help you figure out where you're going. I don't really know the whole format of it, but it was done by a guy who really loved Amazing Race, but then thought that Amazing Race kind of moved on from some of the stuff he enjoyed the most. They did say they spend more time in each location learning about the culture and experiencing it and all of that. So it's a little bit more saturation with the local environment. But at the end, they're still playing for $1 million, whichever one, I think it's 4 teams. And whichever team of 2 gets to this final destination first wins $1 million. So I'm really excited about it. I'm going to watch it tonight, and I'll probably be talking about it unless it's, unless there's just something that makes me think it's not as great as I thought. But I'm going to probably be talking about it next Monday. Heck, I may even do a special podcast or something for it, or YouTube. But anyway, so Race to the Center of the Earth, 10 o'clock East Central Time, National Geographic channel. And Angie's saying, 4 Angie, I heard saying, sorry, Angie, saying, yeah, four kids of 20, 30 years old still want to do an Easter egg hunt. Everyone wants to do an Easter egg hunt, right? Especially, yeah, there's different levels of Easter eggs. When you're a 2-year-old, if it's sitting out on the grass, then that's the challenge. If you're a 20-year-old, if you're a 30-year-old, you got to be a little fancier in the way you hide those eggs. But I am the master, and I can hide eggs that no one will ever find. And I've done that before. I've had people who thought they absolutely could find an egg anywhere possible, where at the end I had to start saying, all right, you're getting warmer, you're getting colder, whatever. So yeah, Angie, your 4 kids, 20, 30, mine same way. My kids still enjoy it as well. Now, with that being said, you reach an age where you also have almost more fun watching the younger kids chase eggs because they're so excited. And, it's so much fun watching these kids that are so amazed that, hey, I can just go outside and pick up candy off the ground. How cool is that? Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then knowing it came from a rabbit, that's pretty mysterious and pretty neat as itself. So, all right, guys, we're going to shut it down. I'll give y'all some more stories and adventures later, but we got to shut down for the evening. Y'all have a fantastic week. It's Easter week, so for those of you who may be traveling next weekend or some point before then, stay safe. I hope everyone stays safe. I hope y'all have a fantastic week. Enjoy your Easter Sunday. For those of you who celebrate Easter, watch Races Center of the Earth if you get a chance this evening. Send me some comments. Let me know what y'all think about it as well, and I'll try to do the same thing. But y'all have a great week. I'm going to finish up with SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids, and I love all the other reality TV fans out here. Thank y'all so much. Have a great one, guys. And again, stay safe, and I'll talk to y'all. It's getting to be springtime, so don't fall for any April Fool's jokes. Be warned. April Fool's is coming up, but enjoy that day. Enjoy Easter, and I'll talk to y'all next week. Cheers, guys. Y'all have a fantastic